I got an A in anatomy and physiology. First thing I tell students to do is to always skim your PowerPoints and your textbooks. Now, this is just a skim, you don't have to go too much into detail, but when you go to class, you don't want things to be unfamiliar or seeing things for the first time. Class should be a bit of a review, even if you don't know what you're learning very well. The next tip that I do tell students is to download your lecture slides onto either your iPad or you can print them out at the library or if you have your own printer. The purpose of this is so that you're not taking notes during class, and let me explain. If you are actively writing down and trying to write down every single word that is on the PowerPoint when your professor's going through it or everything your professor is trying to say, you're not really focused on exactly what they're trying to teach. You're just focused on trying to make sure you get everything down. That eliminates the need to do that. Now you can follow along, pay attention, and then you can add additional things over top of these notes that your professor elaborates on. I also always took my notes immediately after class. I do have a very specific note-taking method that I do impose here, but really the whole point is you want to do it after class while it's fresh in your brain, and you want things to be in your own words. You want to explain this and explain these concepts in the way that you understand it. And then for my review, when I was done making these notes, I would kind of go through and I made my notes in sort of a checklist way. That way I could look at them, look away, and see if I could recall it and explain it out loud without looking. If you can explain things as if you were the one teaching it, you definitely understand it. And I always did what I called my weekly recap. Every weekend, particularly on Sundays, I would make sure that I had a very clear understanding of all the material we did the week before, right before we were going into the next week of material, to make sure that I wasn't behind and I wanted to make sure that I was staying not only with the pace of the course, but a little bit ahead as well. And when it comes to practicing the material, anatomy, what things are terms, use flashcards, practice that. Where things are, practice labeling, take every single image from your slides, from your book, from your models, practice those, know those like the back of your hand. Physiology is how things work. That's what you should really be focusing on explaining those concepts. It's not very easy to always memorize a physiological process. You need to be practicing explaining it like you were teaching it to somebody else. And those are all the tips I have today. Let me know if you guys want any more tips or have any other questions for anatomy and physiology. I do go live multiple times a week going over A&P questions for you all. Thank you guys so much for watching. Remember, all my notes for anatomy and physiology, they are linked on my website. That's linked in my TikTok bio. Good luck in anatomy and physiology, everybody. Thanks for watching.